Okay, so it's just about 5:40 right now, and Jean is not here at the moment. She may show up later, we hope. We have received some input from her via email that we can incorporate into our work later. So we can have a call to order. And is there anyone online for public comment?
There's no one online, Drew, but I do have a public comment to share. Deborah Muccio reached out to me to leave a public comment earlier this week, and I will read that comment for you. It's really short. Um, Deborah would like you, as the CCFC, to consider a request for Catamount to consider making the pond accessible as an ice skating rink. It would be beautiful and a wonderful community space for people of all ages to enjoy. Thanks for passing this on to the committee.
What's the insurance on that one?
Um, I don't know about the insurance. It is allowed in
Is
the,
it?
it's allowed in the easement and the license agreement that that you can skate on the ponds.
Okay,
Um,
so it is accessible.
I don't have, I mean, the one that's next to the sledding hill has already got foot traffic out to it, so
Uh-huh.
that's possible, but we can't maintain an ice skating rink.
No,
So like, we wouldn't be able to like plow it and
Yeah, yeah.
Zamboni it and make sure that it's safe and do all the necessary pieces, so. We actually talked about this today. Cause Tammy was like, hey, can we skate? And I was like, yeah, we can, but it just seems like a lot of, we can't charge for it. And while we wanna be, very supportive of the community, that's one that's a lot of expense to maintain a nice rink.
and the question asker should get a response, I guess, without them being here to ask clarification. When they said make it, what did they say, make it accessible? They were implying for it to be maintained as an ice skating rink. I don't know. David, how did you read that?
Um, yeah, that was the comment. Was yeah, make the pond accessible as an ice skating rink. So my assumption is that my interpretation of that comment is some minimum level of infrastructure for public skating. As John said, I think that there would be an undertaking there of some kind. Some resources would be required.
I mean, there's the town skating rink. Or if the town does something like. If the recommendation, the assumption, I don't know, does the assumption has to be the COFC?
It sounds like they would like to be at that pond instead of down at the village park though.
Yeah, but would that be something the town considers doing? I don't know that the town's making money on the Williston Village ice rink. But if the town wanted to. If the rec department wanted to. Operate an ice rink at a loss. On Catamount property.
I don't think the town has the operation like the Zamboni or whatever it
Yeah.
is, it's just like they fill it. And then it's available to.
Yeah, I think it's different to have, like, our neighborhood used to do this where we would flood our tennis court in the winter and you just buy like this giant plastic sheet and like wooden. It's not, and then you're not like, someone gonna fall through the ice, cause it's just like a tennis court underneath.
I'm sorry, I came in the middle of the conversation, but it certainly sounds like something that the redirect would be. That isn't something the outdoor family center is gonna do, however, you could go to the rec department with that request.
I mean, we wouldn't restrict anybody either if there was good conditions and they wanted to go.
It sounds like the answer is it is accessible for you to go do your wild ice skating on.
Yeah, it's a wilderness ice skating.
Yeah, like Lake Champlain.
Like Champlain.
Right,
So
but
that
at this
means-
time, we can't take on the financial implications of maintaining an ice skating rink,
Yeah, we don't have,
although it'd be glorious.
we don't have a way to plow. And I mean, it's an up and down season too, I mean, we could have had some skating at this point in the year, but it's, I wouldn't want people out on it tomorrow necessarily, when it's warm and,
Right.
and then it's, then it's like, we're maintaining things, on a,
Right.
it's hard enough to maintain skiing.
Do we also need signage that says something like,
Yeah, at your own
Skating at your
risk.
own risk.
Yeah, so,
I mean, it's
um,
opening a bit of a can of worms that's.
yes. And
We need
the
more
insurance
consideration.
aspect has not been approached. When we first were asked to increase our coverage, one of the things the insurance company definitely did not want to cover was ice racing, but this wouldn't be racing. So I don't know where a natural pond would fit in and what they would be willing to cover.
Does anyone know how deep that is?
Deep enough to drown in, I mean, it's not, I think it's probably more, it's like waist deep probably in the middle of that, but I don't know, and I haven't been in a while and ever.
Seems risky.
Probably less deep than Iroquois.
Oh, yeah. Iroquois is
Right.
pretty deep.
Huge. But awesome.
They did run a triathlon over there at one point,
Wow.
Wait, really?
and with swimming, there were some leeches apparently.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which
So in the
may have ended the triathlon.
With a public comment like that, if we respond and say, yeah, go ahead and ice skate, like, there's implied liability there, so it's almost like we need to not.
I think if we say like,
Not respond, go ahead and go skating, I mean, I don't think that's appropriate for us to do.
I feel like in the management plan, there's some language about other activities that's like, if a responsible group wants to propose a way to, right, like, isn't there something like
Yes.
about walking? That's like, if a responsible group wants to like propose an alternative to like make this work, but like we, at the time of writing the management plan, didn't come up with with a way.
Yep. Yeah, that you're right about that, Kim. I think horseback riding is in that group.
Yeah.
Maybe another couple things.
So perhaps we could say, like, if you want to organize a group of volunteers that like takes responsibility for maintenance and liability, come propose it.
I think that's reasonable, and I think it also fits with previous conversations in the committee about use requests, requesting more information. This was just a public comment, but it basically boils down to a use request. So
Yeah.
I think, putting it back in the user's camp, along with just the notes I've collected from your brief comment that currently, right, there's no mechanism for either COFC as the general managers of the trail system or the town to have the capacity to step in and organize that at this time. Any other responses to that comment?
I'm just curious if has there been a lot of use of the skating rink like, has it been popular? The one
I
in the
don't
village?
know the numbers, but I think that it is used
Yeah.
consistently. There is also a skate night coming up on the 17th.
You wanna go ice
Just
skating?
a random shout out to skate night.
So.
With hot chocolate.
Okay. Great. Thanks all. That's the comment that I had received.
Right, perfect.
Back to you, Drew.
Just for the record, Jean is now with us. Welcome. And we can take a look at the minutes now and see if we have any corrections to make.
Great. I will share those.
Dave is in the other room. He's hiding from us.
Nice.
He's protecting us.
Sequestering. Fit Jones.
He's sick.
Yeah.
That was the last in December. Holy cow.
You think you have the flu?
No, I think it's had a really bad cold, but it was the 10-day version.
Oh yeah, no fun.
No.
A ton of flu A. We learned.
Mhm.
I would say that the staff transition is their place, but it looks well worded and beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, is that a duplicate?
Yeah.
That might have been that might have been one of those is probably from the previous week or the previous month. Yeah, I think that second
Makes
one
sense.
is, in fact, the second, that makes me think that the last two bullet points might actually be copied from the previous month. So thank you for catching that. I will check on that.
Any other comments? When do we want to approve the annual report? Is that something we're gonna do today? I don't think that was in the agenda.
If you have to.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
At the
due
end.
the 16th, so I put it on the website if anyone if there's time to look at it tonight, but obviously there's a substantial conversation planned. So I think it's in really good shape. So if anyone wants to submit comments on that to Drew, you're welcome to take a look at it. If we have extra time at the end of the night, we can take a look at it. But I think otherwise, I
I
don't
can't
think
fit another single word in there, so it's better be to take something.
We have to edit the Wilson Conservation Commissions from 3 pages to 1.
ChatGPT. Yeah. Okay, great,
And I
so.
refuse on principle.
Oh, no, save yourself.
Every day at work, I gotta eat on it. Use it more, use it more. You need to do more work, use AI.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I need a raise.
Second.
Give me more.
Second.
Minutes approved,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
5-0. And who motioned, please?
Danielle, then Jean.
Thank you.
You just ate both.
All right, so update from John, how are the trails looking?
I'll tell Debbie to come.
Start with the weather.
No, I'm not gonna be disrespectful, but I need signatures from Wilson residents on that petition to run for the select board, so we'll just pass that around during John's.
Wait, you have to do that even if you're on, so like you're incumbent?
Every 3, oh, yes. Yes.
I'd sign, but I can't.
I said, don't
I'll
sign if you're
sign
not.
it if you,
No, you're recorded, I'll sign it.
No quid pro quos here.
And then you have to
Um,
for dinner.
So we had one of our best Decembers ever,
Great.
due to the snow. And snow is magic, especially early season. The fact that we were able to pretty much be open the whole month was huge. We did have a full melt at one point, but it came back pretty quickly, and we had good good visitation, and it continues.
If the snow was so good in December, my family never got a Christmas tree
Because it was too much work to get out and.
because he was too busy skiing.
Yeah, even better, even better. Snow in December is way more impactful than snow in March. And certainly in April, when folks are kind of getting done with this, so. It was definitely a positive thing for the outdoor family center.
Did you see that convert to season passes? Like, is that?
We had a very big membership month too.
Yeah, interesting.
That's great.
Yeah. In fact, it was a little concerning at one point. I was like, we're not selling any day memberships. All we're selling is season memberships, which is great. But it's also, those day memberships are really the gravy, during the winter for us. Because it's much quicker, and the folks that buy a season membership, and they're skiing all the time, which is what we want, but it's not quite as financially impactful as a day one.
And then it rained.
And then it rained, and then it's gonna rain again.
Yes.
We're used to that. We're supposed to.
January.
We're supposed to host our first high school cross country meet in several years. On Wednesday.
Oh,
We have like
Next
so
Wednesday.
many friends who are coming from the Woodstock area for it. And we're like, oh, we'll come cheer.
I think we'll be okay. It's still planned, but we'll kind of know more on Monday morning. Come through and maybe got a little bit of snow on the tail end there. Every bit of snow that we've gotten has been outperforming what the predictions are too, so. we've been feeling good about that, so we'll keep moving forward as much as we can, and. We've been grooming a ton and that's made a big difference too. People have noticed that and it's been part of why we've done so well with memberships. And we got kudos from the McCulloughs about our grooming.
Wow.
If you can get that, I think you pretty much have succeeded on all levels. So that's been great. A short insurance update, we did renew our general liability and umbrella policy. With at last year's levels, because we were not able to get the extended or the higher level coverage. Being a small organization, they wouldn't give it to us. So the the plan was to try to separate some of the other activities and figure out how we can cover those. Unfortunately, adding our running races to that list will likely kill the race series for both biking and running. We ended up taking in revenue of approximately $5 a head for the biking series, and that doesn't cover costs.
Incremental price increase. That's what you're saying?
No, $5 for the whole season, like per person who came to that's how much we ended up like actually recouping, not profit. That doesn't pay for Tammy's time or any of the other, Andy's time, I mean, that goes towards covering it, but it wasn't enough.
The price of a nightly race was increased by $5. And the intent was that would cover the insurance, but that wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
Okay, so we'd have to increase the outdoor family center would have to increase the nightly price of a race more.
Yes,
Just to cover cost of insurance
correct.
and not lose money.
And if we add running, then we're gonna increase those coverage costs again. I did a little analysis, so in 2023, no, sorry. In 2024, our costs were about $13,000. Last year,
Insurance.
for general liability and umbrella. This past year with general liability, umbrella, and then the bike race, we were at about 22,000. So pretty quick increase. And then if we were to add in, this year, the liability and umbrella policy is gonna be more like 17. And then the additional, biking, we're looking at 6,000 to 7,000 and then another 6 to 8 for running. So we've more than doubled our costs in 2 years just for insurance. So we're still trying to work through what that looks like with ARP. But it is at a point where it becomes, like we're doing community service and not running the business. Which we are both, but it is hard to justify those things. Our operation manager search is still ongoing and we're struggling. We've had to give up some really good candidates because we can't offer health insurance. So that's it's a spot where I'm working with the board to figure out a way to do that. I've made the point that I think it's very important for us to invest in the staff, but we've also got to, manage our budgets and meet all those
It could be
things.
another $30,000.
It could very well be another $30,000. So insurance is a killer for us at this point, and we're trying to figure out ways around it or ways to work within the system as it is, but it is a very big challenge for us.
So, just in terms of incremental change, just to I don't know if this committee has to weigh in as members of the community to have a voice, but the running race, an incremental ask for this coming year is that the running race get the higher level of liability and higher level of insurance, which would kill the running race. So that would be a net change. Last year, the add of the higher level of insurance for the bike race made it less palatable, but people seem to tolerate the price increase. But the running race is gonna be done. I mean, we have competition from like many other 5K race series that are way cheaper, and already there's been a lot of complaints, like, why is a Catamount running race so expensive? So Arrowhead does some, Arrowhead, is that a park or something? I don't even know. There's like an Arrowhead 5K series that a lot of the runners at Catamount go to, and it's way cheaper than Catamount. I don't know. So I think this is like the, you know, is this relationship with town-owned land, outdoor family center running it? Like, we just killed the running race. Like, this committee, like, back to our, back to the discussion of the role of this committee. Does this committee just say, oh, well, or is this committee like, so that we engage and try to figure out like I thought this was supposed to be a valuable community resource and ongoing providing the services that we've had before, but like it just got destroyed. But somehow another, town land, people are getting running races put on. Right? Like, I don't know who puts on the Arrowhead running race. But do we need an outdoor group to put on a running race to get out from under the insurance requirements? Or I don't know, like a long-term running race would be a shame to have.
Right, and I think like to your point, any 5K or 10K or half marathon or marathon, any event is happening on town, right? Like sometimes roads that are closed. Do you know what I mean? Like they're all happening on town land to some extent. So it seems like we could try to figure out how other places are doing that.
I think, and I gotta say that only, this falls, I think, under when we get to it, we can talk to it, but I think the whole financial, that this particular idea is definitely not our responsibility, right? It's the town's, the liability insurance thing belongs to the town manager. I think it would be, I don't know, David, what do you think, but I would think it would be, we could certainly request that Eric attend the meeting and explain it to us.
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, that seems like it would be within.
Cause I think you're right of like the decision is his decision, but Hans is right that like just letting this community service is like. This is a reason that people are passionate about the conservation of this property in the first place. And that a reason that people felt connected to it. We heard that very clearly when we were working on the conservation. So that seems like our purview, like preserving those community resources and events.
Piggyback with the, we also want to support volunteers, and that has all basically gone by the wayside because of the insurance issues too.
Yeah.
Oh, like more broadly for the whole
Right,
town.
having the volunteers come like into the forest has been feeling insurmountable because of them not being able to use hand tools because of the insurance requirements.
Right.
In the forest and in the town for the town volunteers.
Yeah.
So it's.
And that's something
has the bigger challenge of the insurance restrictions.
Right.
Can I ask how much funding we're talking about?
What do you mean?
How much do you need to continue with the races?
We have some sponsorship already this year for this coming race series. I'd have to do some.
I mean, very pointedly, the incremental insurance requirement that would kill a running race was 7 or 8 grand.
Yeah.
So that's it, right? So if 7 or 8 grand appeared out of nowhere and somebody else wanted to pay for that liability insurance, things would just continue on.
Well, for 1 year, right? Because the reality is that insurance
never goes down.
Right, yeah, like, it's not really.
Prices don't do that.
It would be great to have like an angel donor, but it's also not like a sustainable solution.
I'm just wondering if there are other things that we can think of about how to bring in money. Like I was just thinking an auction, like there's so many artists that go there and take photos and paint and whatever. Can you have an auction? Townwide or, in the broader community, people who are interested and try to get something out of that. It could be an annual thing. I don't know who's in charge of that or whatever.
Exactly,
But, I think maybe if we think outside the box, there might be opportunities there.
I mean, fundraising to pay your insurance bill is is tough.
Yeah,
And
But maybe you just have like a general like Catamount's annual silent auction. I don't know, I know someone on your fundraising committee on your board.
my experience with silent auctions are that they can raise money, but they, if you take out staff time
Yeah.
that was, used to do it, it often isn't nearly as much as you would hope. And yes, there's a benefit to connecting with all the community that way, but it's not as, like, oh, we paid for it. It's more like we paid for the staff time and then we got a little bit left.
well, I love the idea of inviting Eric in to explain it to us, assuming it's done. Honestly, I've seen a bunch of emails go back and forth and I haven't read them all.
Thank you for not reading them all,
They're
because
all
I don't want
serious.
you to have to do all this either.
I know, oh my gosh, it's, but I think that would probably be the logical next step, assuming that they're done. I don't know if you guys are still going back and forth or if you feel.
Well,
like it's done.
the general liability and umbrella policy has been set for the year. So
It does
that
not
piece,
include writing.
it does not include running, and, well, no, it does include running currently. The town has asked us to get supplemental beyond that. It does not include bike racing.
Hmm.
And that's something that we haven't purchased this year's of supplemental yet, because we're not at the point of running the race.
Right.
And if the running piece is gonna go away, the biking piece is probably gonna go away too, because the running series was kind of carrying the bike with the revenue. And it's easier when you're setting up two races, because we set up one course per week and then use it twice.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it's a lot easier to, that there are some economies of scale with doing it the way we do. But if one has to go away, then the other one probably too. We are still working on our building and trail permitting. And it's been eye-opening to, I think, everybody who's been involved, that we are potentially on the most difficult trail network in the state to permit. Every bit of it is in National Historic Registry. A large part of it is in wetlands. We have challenges pretty much everywhere. And the cost of doing the permitting itself and the cost of the building are both multiplied by these challenges. I don't know that anybody was really aware of the level of these challenges when the conservation happened. Part of the license agreement talks about how the outdoor family center shall be responsible for all the permitting. And I feel like that is, it's a mistake. And that we should be working more closely together with the planning department, and using their skills and resources to fill in where we don't have those skills and resources, and us providing the things that we can. But it's a real challenge to get through this for us. Between Act 250, wetlands, stormwater, wastewater, and the archaeological reviews. And the archaeological reviews are, as we noted, where every bit of land is on National Historic Registry. So we're talking about doing digs, even in places that have been heavily impacted over the years. Part of our response to the building planning letter that Eric sent to us delves into this a bit, and we are asking that we get some support from the planning department for these fronts, just as a way to make them happen in a way that's sufficient, and if the town's gonna own them, it really should be more part of what we're doing.
I had a thought, right, because I saw that, the $15 million bond is coming to vote for the library, and I thought, does the library staff that runs the library do the permitting for the building? Probably not. So like, I was just drawing an analogy, and like the whole fundraising and decision to get $15 million bond.
The architects
process
often do it.
Getting through that.
I don't know for sure, but often the architects will be responsible for getting most of the permitting. Because that's the way it worked at the school.
And that's a town hired architect, or is there?
Just like any building you build, you have an architect, right?
Yeah, but I think Hans is asking who paid for the architect.
It's part of the bond. I am saying from experience in schools and not a specific library, but I don't think that we're asking David to go do the permitting for.
No, I'm just trying to think like, I mean, we've struggled at speaking as an outdoor family center person now, to be clear. Like watching and trying to help John like get through all the
Yeah.
hurdles. And it's like, you know, we valued John to be the executive director because he had a ton of experience in this area. But like, he needs to also run the operations and family center and hire Amanda, and like, it feels like, how do we get through this?
Yeah.
Especially when it's a town-owned building, it's, you know, town-owned trails, the maintenance and operation of them for the outdoor family center. So I think structurally, this is again, back into the conversation, Drew, of what's this committee for? Like, maybe there's like a redrawing of like, how does this relationship work? I don't know if it's a temporary project, if it's an ongoing responsibility of this committee, but like, you know, something's a little bit or a lot askew in like just a viable future to continue to fulfill the management plan, which is to provide recreation at the outdoor family center, and helping, or at the community forest. So that was, I put a comment in the next agenda item to that end, but that would be something this committee would wrestle with, like, you know, gosh, is this the right license agreement? Let's understand if it's working for the family center. And then that recommendation or advisory capacity to the select board to say like, you know, in order to keep, you know, executing on the management plan as defined, you know, we wanna recommend these kinds of changes or, you know, build something that works. Be kind of an advocate of having things continue to operate at CCF and not just hope that the family center can do it.
And we do have the forest that is available for logging to then support needs of other needs. And we already have raised money, then we have the 30,000 or something.
Yeah, but for
From-
the trails and, we got the money for trails and invasive species.
Right.
Oh, you
But
mean
that
the
was
logging money?
like,
That's
right, the logging money, yeah,
There's not a ton of high value timber in there.
after what's
Long
already
term.
been done.
Yeah, well. I guess I'll have to relook at. Those stand descriptions, but that's my gut reaction. Thinking about that forest. Also, it
I
can't
also
be
don't know if the
forested
community would
beyond-
want that to be, the community wants things to continue and wants the availability of what is already there, but I don't think they necessarily want it.
We also have
Trees.
restrictions on, I think we can't do forest more than. It's like what, 75%, and parcels like 76% forested or something.
Oh, right. Then it won't even be a forest anymore, it'd be.
Field.
Forest Service has a very specific definition of forest.
Well, I don't disagree, Hans, that I think that the relationship between the town and the outdoor family center is, in my opinion, would be. Any advising about the change in that license. I think the advising would come from here. It certainly wouldn't come from the select board. We're not gonna do it. So, you know, it would be here that's gonna advise on that.
Yeah,
That's. It probably is coming to a head, given the financial struggles, right? So it probably has to be figured out at some point. That's a little bit different than permitting for the building, but. I think
They're
you've said that.
intimately related though, and that's, I think that's where the challenge is. It's our structural piece right now too, that we're, you know, struggling because we can't grow the things that will be more sustainable. You know, we're kind of stuck with if it snows, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and if it doesn't, then oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
Right.
And so the building permitting allows us to grow those things that are more stable. And the trails themselves, if we were able to upgrade those, then we are able to draw people back in that we've lost over many years. And so it's a bit of a chicken or the egg kind of thing here now, but it's also like we gotta have both. You know, we can't do one without the other. And I think when the relationship with the town was started, there was a lot of enthusiasm for the conservation process. And it being like, okay, you know, the outdoor family center is gonna take care of everything and that, you know, this is gonna be great. And while I believe that that's a worthy goal, I think that there are factors that were not considered at that point. And there's still, it's a relationship that needs to evolve. And even in the last license agreement, there's, now that I reread it, I'm like, boy, that's a hard one, you know, and how are we gonna work through this, you know, and still succeed, so. I think these are, you know, necessary. This is a tough time for us because we don't have the permits, we don't have we can't move forward on grants that we've gotten to, you know, to work with this stuff. The insurance piece is, you know, continually nipping at our heels, and we can't change without the big change of, you know, having a building and being able to do the trail work.
John,
So,
question for you. With the permitting costs, has that been covered by Catamount Outdoor Family Center's like general budget, or has that been covered thus far by grants, by planning grants?
The vast majority of it has been covered by our budget.
Okay.
There's been a little bit from the VORAC planning, but that was, yeah, it doesn't include all the trail stuff. And it doesn't include any of the archaeology, doesn't include any of our time, you know, organizing all this stuff. The only thing that we really got done was the stormwater piece and the wetlands delineations. But those are not permits. They're plans that need to go into the permit.
Like engineering work.
Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, so the staring down the cost of the permits, I think, is another.
Well, all that is in the 7-page document I didn't get to read because I just got opened at 5 minutes before I had to leave.
Not all of it, but we definitely talk about that in there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor the point or take too much time here. There's a lot to chew on and a lot of details. Does anybody have any other questions? Comments, concerns, ideas? Okay.
no, I think as we move on, going through our agenda, I think hopefully we'll get a little bit more grounded in who we are as a committee and how we can better help you out. So, you know, thanks for giving us an update on where things stand, and hopefully we can, you know, be a better service to you as we sort of figure things out in the future.
Great. I did have one other thing to update on, and that's a potential farmers market that we've been working on for the coming summer. We've been working with the person who runs the Stowe farmers market. She recently, yesterday, just sent us a proposal, which I'll share with the town planners and go from there. It is unlikely to be a large moneymaker for either the nonprofit that'll end up running this or for the outdoor family center, likely to be the contract she sent us, you know, and this is a draft one, that we would make $2,000 for 20 nights or 20 evenings of hosting. So approximately $100 each time. But would draw people to the outdoor center, be a community service, and hopefully be low enough impact that $2,000, you know, more than covers our costs. But it is taking some time and effort to get that moving.
Do that instead of or in addition to what they do instead?
In addition, yeah, it would be a different time, a different place, and really a totally different organization.
It's interesting. That was in the town highlights news on the year end. Farmers market was highlighted there. Joe, read the observers.
I don't get it for like, yeah.
December 18 yesterday.
It's because of the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it comes in the mail, it's way too late.
Right.
The mail is like,
Sometimes I get two at the same time.
Yeah,
Like
last week said this week.
Like, how much reading material?
we just don't get mail for like days.
We should
Yeah.
save it. We should have David save it when it comes in here on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday nights. Is there one right over there? We can.
All right, move this on.
Yeah, so let's move on here. We've obviously been, I guess, sort of struggling with our identity as a committee, and we're now sort of at that point where we can actually look at the documents, have a discussion about what our charge is. We first have the charging document that Dave submitted to everybody, and we can discuss that. And then I created another document on top of that, which sort of incorporates a little bit more about our activities, including what we do with regards to the forest management plan and what we've done in the past. So we've got a live document that we're going to work on, and we can sort of incorporate our thoughts and suggestions going forward. Dave, do you want to start with the charge document and we can discuss that?
Yeah,
And then-
sure. Thanks. So, I wanted to, as this conversation has developed and there's been, questions about what the future is going to be, I did want to draw people's attention to the existing purpose and charge, as you sort of wrestle with those questions about whether those should evolve. So the Catamount Community Forest Committee did, are you seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that shifted the tab. Okay, great. So let me just zoom this in a little bit. So we won't read this whole thing, but I posted this. This was adopted May 2019 after the conservation. And there's both a purpose and a charge. So the purpose is the intent of the select board to establish a management committee, the committee, to oversee the responsibility for managing the Catamount Community Forest property and implementing the goals established by the management plan. So management and implementation of the plan, with assistance from the county forester and the COFC. Williston Select Board will have ultimate decision-making authority over the property after receiving recommendations from the committee. The committee forest plan is a requirement, etc. So, and must be updated every 10 years. So that's the purpose statement, which is closely related to the official charge, which is the committee will handle all management decisions for the Catamount Community Forest and will submit annual action plans and budgets to the select board for approval. Budgets we know happen on an annual basis. I don't know if the committee has always submitted an action plan though. The committee will ensure the goals of the management plan are being advanced and will bring any management plan amendment recommendations to the select board as necessary. So it's a useful document. Just it includes that original framing of the purpose and charge. It also has those details about membership, which I know there have also been questions floated by committee members in the past months about whether the membership requirements are still a good fit. And it references other things such as the relationship with Catamount Outdoor Family Center as well. So take a look through that when you have another moment. But we'll keep that existing purpose and charge in mind as we have this conversation, because those would need to be amended after this conversation solidifies about, as a committee, what you think the future should be.
It strikes me the pivotal comment is in section 1, something about goals. What does it say?
The goals
Implementing the
established
goals.
in the management plan. It's super focused on what's in the management plan.
Yeah, so are we gonna now look at the goals of the management plan for Catamount?
I think what I'm hearing is, or we're having a conversation about whether or not. It doesn't, to me, feel like we have always adhered to that. We've dealt with a lot of issues that have been outside implementing the management plan, right? The management plan is like, actually doesn't have like a ton for us to implement other than like the forestry and the invasives plan.
But I think we should look at it. I mean, I don't know, implementing the goals established by the management plan. We should look at that list. Is it
The document that I
3, 4?
prepared basically incorporates all of that stuff from
Okay.
the forest management plan. So it might be a logical next step to take a look
Okay.
at that document. And it's, just, it's summarized in bullet points. So we don't have to go through
Yeah.
a lot of pages, but it might be a good way to manage
Yeah.
the conversation going forward.
What's my management plan?
We'll get there. Okay, so the second document that I linked in the agenda, which you may have looked at, was this 2024 memo this has been on the agenda linked a couple of times, but we haven't actually looked at it together. This is actually the purpose statement that Andrew Plum had put in here. but this was the summary at the time of all of the different initiatives that were going on. Now, most of these have come up in your current conversations, but I just wanted to look at this very quickly to note there's a couple things on here which have been the purview of the CCFC, which it sounds like in the current conversation, maybe the direction is that those won't be the purview going forward. So those are questions. And that includes things like implementing EAB treatment, the brush hogging, delegating that. But most importantly, the volunteer interest groups, where is that going to live? How is that going to be properly supported if the CCFC is not, kind of managing that on a monthly basis? So then the third thing that I shared just this morning was Drew's memo. Drew put this together. Great job, Drew. Drawing on the more recent conversations about kind of a statement of what the purpose is, and the committee role and the decision boundaries, partners, and basis. So this is a pretty useful initial framing. However, Drew, do you want to read this now or do you want to go on to your working document, just given time?
Well, I think probably going through this
Yeah.
first would make more sense.
Okay.
I just want to point out that the previous document, I haven't seen that, so I don't know if that was supposed to be in the email that you sent around. Did anyone else see that?
I think it was
No,
one-
it was
Maybe the last
linked in
one.
It was last, okay.
He sent an email, I mean, I'm just barely looking at it now, right, but like, he
Okay.
sent an email with 3 links.
yeah.
Governance framework, CCFC purpose and charge document, that was the PDF we just saw.
Mhm.
This one?
And then the annual report.
I think that's
Oh, this
different from,
document?
yeah, that,
Yeah,
But
sorry,
then
this
then
one has
there
been
was
linked to the
also-
past 2 agendas.
okay,
It-
that
it's-
explains it.
It's
Oh,
twenty
this document.
twenty-four
Okay.
CCF charge and draft work plan memo.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at this one.
So this, I don't know, do you want me to go through this?
Do
Yeah,
we need
absolutely.
to
Take us
stay
through,
here?
Drew.
Do you need to stick around for this? I'm okay if you don't feel like sticking around for this conversation.
Do we have later brainstorming needs? I feel like
Okay.
you should be here for that
I'm
part.
doing a little work over here, talking to Tony tomorrow. So.
Okay.
Okay, so this incorporates, a lot of the information, what we've done in the past, as well as with regards to the forest management plan. Purpose, I don't really need to read through. We know sort of why we're having this conversation. But what's in there in that document is really just meant to be a conversation piece and to get things rolling. The purpose of the committee is, sorry. It exists to advise the town of Williston on the stewardship, use, and long-term management of the Catamount Community Forest, balancing conservation, public access, recreation, education, and municipal responsibility. We contribute policy guidance, community perspective, continuity, and oversight to ensure actions align with adopted plans and town goals. We don't manage daily operations, as we know. The committee role is primarily.
Can I interact on the purpose? I think compared to the document we just looked at. You lost. The element. They're responsible for managing the CCF property and implementing the goals established in the management plan. This just is like word advising, doesn't say anything about implementing plans. And
Well, we don't
implementing
really-
goals established by the management plan, or this is another.
This is
town
more
forest.
accurate to how we've been operating and how we've been.
We've been following the management plan.
We haven't been not following the management plan, but I think we've done things that are outside of it. Like this to me is broader and more accurate. Of what we've actually done.
Yeah, it's sort of meant for, like I said, a conversation piece, so you're probably right about that.
I mean, just to reiterate what I said, the PDF we just looked at that was accepted and adopted, I felt like took more responsibility to make sure the goals are accomplished.
Hmm.
Whereas this one is a much more, let me give you some advice.
Well,
kind
it's
of
still,
feeling
it's still,
to it.
it's still in my decision-making body, so
Yeah.
we can't really make sure the goals are accomplished.
Oh,
All right, I mean,
well, I don't know.
That's certainly the case for Conservation Commission, more like a recommendation,
Right.
is our purview.
Yeah, we don't really implement ourselves.
So maybe that first PDF document you're saying is too overreaching and broad, but.
I mean, I think it means that like if say the invasive species plan is implementing the goals of the forest, then it would be our responsibility to make sure there's one in place. And that the town manager will sign it and that it doesn't fall off the table as far as, oh, we're supposed to do this summer. But outside of our budget, we can't make something happen, so. It's just we don't have any ultimate responsibility except to advise, I think.
Well, the town forest committee is it's a citizen advisory committee, right? In that
Yeah.
initial charge, it clearly states the select board has ultimate decision-making authority. Having
Right.
said that, the CCFC clearly does have de facto decision-making authority in, many practical circumstances. The granularity of some of the decisions that you've made are not of a scale that really requires the select board to be involved because they're directly, as Hans has said, they are implementing the plan that the select board approved. So I think there's some play there in terms of, yes, the select board is the ultimate decision-making authority, but if you are approving a plan of action of what you're going to do through the select board, then there is, I think, a reasonable assumption that the committee will be making decisions about how to implement those actions appropriately on a basis that doesn't necessarily require going back to the select board for every little thing.
So is this a proposed revision to the document we just looked at?
No, it's not a proposal.
Oh,
It's
okay.
basically just saying this based on, our charge statement and what we've been doing previously. This is kind of where things stand with the committee, and if we want to change it or we want to discuss it, this is the right place and time to do so. So I think that's,
I mean, I think it probably, because we're not gonna finish this tonight, so to your point, it might be, it might make sense, Drew, to kind of make sure that you think that everything and that you and Drew will think that that the original charge, which is signed by the select board, is incorporated in this.
yeah,
These two. I think you're saying that you don't really
Well-
feel like it's clear and that it's reflects the original charge.
The first PDF made me think like, oh wow, that's more than we've been doing. Like, do we have our eyes on what are these goals? And proactively making advisory recommendations towards the implementation to achieve these goals. I don't think we've been doing that.
Well, I don't know that we haven't. We haven't pulled out the goals every week and said it, every month and said, are we doing them? But I don't think they would have let us go too far adrift from the management plan. We haven't done anything that's against it.
I mean, if there's 6 goals, can you name 4?
No, I'm just saying, I don't think that literally we have it in front of us, but you know,
I also
certainly.
don't, but like, they're not all like things that require action, right? Like, some of them are like. Provide recreational, I'm not gonna get this right, Danielle should read it, but like, provide recreational opportunities for the
You got it,
town of
right here.
Williston.
Yeah,
Like, yes, we're doing that,
Right.
right? Like, check.
yeah.
It's not like. You have to go out and pick 43 mushrooms, chop them 6 different, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if the plan says, the property shall provide nutritional value to the general population. And we've never thought about, hey, maybe we should implement a volunteer program to go pick 46 mushrooms.
Yeah,
And I think we're
Danielle and
not.
I read this pretty close, like
I-
2 years ago.
And
Yeah.
they've done that throughout the years
Yeah.
too.
I don't think there's a thing that we
following the
haven't
management
done,
plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can read them, but I would be surprised if there's a thing in there that we have totally neglected.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think there are two things that I'm hearing here. One is I think to Hans's point, the existing forest management plan, while it's often consulted, when things come up and you're wondering whether they align or not with the plan, it's often consulted, but it's rarely brought up to look through it to see, are there goals in here that can guide, what we're going to do in our next meeting, what we're going to talk about actively. So I think there is a fair point there. And the second thing is, I think this question of implementation and how active you think this committee should be. If the committee is primarily a more passive rulemaking body where it meets quarterly and some issues and questions are presented that relate to the management plan, you make some decisions, and then you reconvene 3 months later. That's a different model than if you are regularly saying, we have these goals, how are we going to implement them by helping to create different frameworks and initiatives and events and things that will bring all of these goals into the everyday.
And I'm not willing to agree with that, but I would have to look at the goals more carefully. If we say we have to make the route, this forest available for recreation, it doesn't mean we have to start running our own programs. So implement can be delegating as well.
Oh, for sure.
And oversight. So I'm not willing to,
I don't think you proposed anything. I'm not sure what you were disagreeing with, but.
No, I didn't
just
propose
need to
anything.
follow. I wasn't sure if I followed the
Well,
conversation.
it felt
I
like
understand.
one of them was more action oriented, like we needed to have, maybe we'd get the bird walks, make sure those things are happening.
Yeah.
As
I mean, he
opposed
painted
to
two
our
pictures. One
plans.
was quarterly meeting and very hands off, and then he painted a picture of a committee that's more active, meeting monthly, doing more stuff. I always think, like, you can only ask volunteers to do so much, when we had. Reed and Terry, like they had more time to like spend outside of committee meetings to do more of implementing some of these things. So I think, my comment to David would be, I think it also depends on the capacity of the people on the committee to. How deep you get into implementation. I agree with what Jean says. We're not gonna be organizing bird walks as.
couldn't even organize a simple invasive species meeting, day, so.
I'll just clarify that all I was saying is I think that is one of the key questions here is what it means to implement the plan and how actively you interpret what implementation is. I will also add on that conversation that I did receive some comments from Terry Marin, who's been following the proceedings and as you mentioned, Hans, Terry has had a very different level of involvement. Terry expressed concern that many of the pieces that had been a component of the CCFC may be lost in terms of the kinds of things that were stewarded by the CCFC in the past. Who is ensuring that there are, I think that the primary comment was that people feel invited to Catamount to participate in its resources and not just that it is a passive piece of land that the town owns that people can go to.
I'd like to say when I did share with Drew some ideas and that piece of it is the one I don't know where it belongs. In my own mind, I'm pretty clear on what definitely policy, long-term viability of a family, of the family center, all that kind of stuff, I can definitely see being this one. There's all sorts of things that I can definitely see is not, but that whole middle piece of inviting people in and making sure that it's used and grows and as a resource, that's kind of in the middle. I don't have an answer to that.
And that's not explicitly described in either the charge nor the management plan. Like that's not articulated.
It could be part of that.
Except for the education piece.
I think at a high level, I don't hope we go down this path, but like, let's say this committee finds that like outdoor family center can no longer do the running race. And then we say, gosh, that was a really important part. I wonder if there's other like organizations out there that can do a running race. I'm not sure how this would even work. I'm just creating craziness here. But this committee could be like, hey, let's put out to a few other organizations, see if they want to run a running race. I'm liking less and less what I'm saying because now I'm creating confusion at Catamount of who's running what. But my point is like, at a high level, like, we wouldn't want to be involved in promoting that new race series, but like trying to, I don't know.
I think that's your question. Like, is it our job to make sure that like these things that have
Yeah.
happened in the past continue, that service is provided, that we're like reaching new groups and providing new services, like that feels very gray. And when you were starting to talk, I was like, that feels like the role of the outdoor family center. But then I think to Terry's point, there were other groups operating and doing that in other ways that were outside of what the outdoor family center does.
Right.
And it happened that those people were members of this committee.
Well, maybe it happened. Like it
Yeah.
is so nuanced there that it was both.
Yeah.
Mom, it's sweet.
And does that happen at Mud Pond?
No, I mean,
Oh, and
not the same one.
No, but this is not Mud Pond.
Right, and it's not Mud Pond, it's a special place. Super special place. Mud Pond's a special place too, but.
Yeah, so I think one thing I'm hearing as well is that perhaps one of the questions is the committee, is one of the roles of the committee to really facilitate partnerships to make different kinds of things happen. Right. The committee itself doesn't need to become experts in natural history and experts in ice skating and all these different things. But the committee can facilitate and work with different partners. Of course, the Catamount Outdoor Family Center is the best example of that. Partner with a specific role that creates amazing opportunities, but you can only put so much on the Catamount Outdoor Family Center, right?
Yeah.
And as a town forest, right, we know that there are certainly other partners out there, as Kim alluded to, that could provide different kinds of initiatives or resources. And even thinking of the county forester is named in that charge as one example of that. Provided all kinds of educational events in association with the logging that happened out there. I can also think of, Vermont Master Naturalist has been out there in the past. There are other ways that you could think about, partnership, and even thinking about the third party groups that put on events, facilitated through Catamount Outdoor Family Center are also really partners of this community. And so there are a lot of different ways to think about facilitating partnership to bring in different kinds of opportunities for the community.
And I think if we think about like Mud Pond, we've done that, like we, as the town, are only able to maintain those trails because Fellowship of the Wheel has an active role in that. Including grooming in the winter time, which makes it accessible to snowshoers and Nordic skiers. So definitely like we have models in other forested parcels that have like more complex. Like Mud Pond, while not as complex as Catamount, is more complex than other natural areas in town.
And it did, I'm just thinking of like our role of these partnerships, like Fellowship probably came to the town.
Yeah, for sure. I was there for that.
And not the town went finding
Right.
Fellowship. So in this case, like the ice skating interested party came here. And then I think this committee should be inviting and open to that and channel it to the outdoor family center or, but I don't think we go, hey, we need to find somebody that's interested in maintaining ice rinks. Let's go drum up some interest. So I think there's like a passive, like enable fulfilling the goal of inviting the community out. It's a passive role, not like an active role of like finding the groups. This farmers market thing, right? If they come to the committee, it would have been like, oh, how can we facilitate so it's more of a reactive, passive capacity, not proactively seeking it.
Unless there was somebody. Okay, I feel like there would also be space for a proactive member. Should there be somebody who had the drive to do something.
Sure, but that's an individual coming to the committee as much as the fellowship came to the town. And
Even
said,
if
hey,
they're on the
can you
committee.
maintain the trail?
Yeah.
Like, so the committee would be like, oh, you're a person wanting to do this, sure, we'll help enable you do that. But it's not a charge to the committee to find people that are so interested to initiate use.
Although, like the example that you gave, I can imagine this committee being like, wow, that's a tragedy that we lost these race series. We're hearing from a bunch of people in town that they're sad about that, or that they found a lot of value in that, or like Jean's constituents are coming to select board and saying, we're bummed about this.
Yeah,
Then that seems like a thing that we could, as a group, proactively say, we wanna, and please hang on and I will do my thing in 1 second. Like we as a committee could say, we want to make sure this is provided, right? Like I think there are scenarios where we could be proactive and that would feel appropriate. Although it's maybe not reflected in the original
listen.
text, but it's to me, in my reading of what you wrote, I'm like, oh, it fits in that.
So I think there is a way to resolve this that actually fits pretty well with the charge of this committee, which is, if you consider that if you think it makes sense that one of the roles of the committee is to facilitate these general partnerships to accomplish the goals of the plan, then whether or not you take a proactive or more passive stance can be something that is really guided by how you rewrite this plan, which is what you're going to be doing in the next 2 years. So it's right now you're having a conversation about what are the roles of the committee and where do these different things fit, and how is the committee going to be structured. You don't necessarily have to answer the question of, is it our, how what side of the spectrum does this committee need to be in terms of proactive and passive on this particular topic?
so the role of committee, we would say, is
The doubles.
having some amount of responsibility for partners at the CCF. Obviously, it does outdoor family center, the farm, the guided mows. But we don't have to be saying whether we're gonna be proactive or reactive in this committee responsibility document. Is that, David, what you're saying?
I don't think you necessarily have to. If given that this is a committee that is largely guided by the forest plan, that plan can be the ultimate guiding star in that particular regard. So as you're thinking about structuring the committee, that decision can be punted a little bit to how you write the plan in 2 years, but
Yeah.
Go down a little bit on your document.
Yeah, sure. And I think, with the live document, we can incorporate some of what we're discussing here and continue this conversation. Because it is sort of open-ended to an extent, but I think generally what we have written here is we play our primary role as advisory and we provide oversight with regards to implementing the forest management.
And fixating a little bit on like, hey, what are those goals in the forest management plan? We might do well to have like an assessment, like let's use some of the community time to like, let's go through these goals and do a formal assessment. Where are we doing well? Where are we not doing well? And then in the advisory capacity to say like, okay, this goal, there's room for improvement. We're not quite sure what we could do. And then maybe it fleshes out to being, oh, well, maybe we need a partner to help, or maybe we should encourage the outdoor family center, or, so I think maybe like an annual assessment of how we're achieving the goals of the forest management plan. Use that as like a reflection way to say like, hey, what should we be doing? How we grade ourselves on these goals?
right. I think
And we
that's
have,
sorry,
we
go
have-
ahead, Danielle.
well, we have the Catamount Community Forest Plan, which then points us to have the forest management plan. So I feel like we need to have the two names
I'm not
somehow.
talking about like the cut the trees down plan. I'm talking
That's
about
the
like,
management plan, and this is the community plan, community forest plan. that you're talking
it's
about.
called the man. They're both are really confusing in how they're named.
It is very
Yeah.
confusing.
Well, there's a very legalistic one that had to do with all our partners in purchasing the property, right? Whatever that one is.
Catamount
I think there's
community forest.
This is
You're right.
this
This
is
one.
the
This one here, the
The
Catamount
super
Community
broad.
Forest, Community Forest Plan, which then
Wow.
inside.
You got community
Has
forest
a-
twice.
Forestry
By
plan.
the way, this is a community forest.
Yeah.
Which then points to having a forest management plan
I
that will
think
be
this
worked
is,
on.
I think this is language from the Forest Service, like they had like requirements of what got written.
So this is, when we say management plan, do we mean this
Yeah,
document?
that's what I would mean.
That's what I was thinking.
So whenever you say management plan, I'm thinking you're thinking the forest management plan.
Oh, no,
So I feel like
That's-
we need to be a little bit more specific with our plans.
sure.
It is quite unfortunate, Danielle. I think
I mean, you're not-
colloquially, you could refer to them as the management plan and the forestry plan, but you're right, the official titles are extremely confusing.
Or the community plan, with the emphasis on the community, because it's
And
on there
it-
twice.
And this PDF that David started us with refers to established by the management plan.
Mm.
So it
The
doesn't even
management
use the right title.
Well, okay, for the record, I think this document was written before the forestry plan.
In 2018, and the forestry plan came out,
But
like,
management.
It was
plan is
supposed to be,
thereafter.
this is the overarching document that, it says you need a forestry management.
Yeah, so this is, I think this is referring to the bigger document, cause it.
When it says management plan there, I think it means the document Danielle's holding.
Correct.
Okay,
Cause the more specific forestry plan, I believe was not written at the
Yeah.
time that this document was written, and thus this cannot refer to it. It doesn't
oh,
exist
very
yet,
good point.
Good
I
sleuthing.
think.
Correct.
You should be a lawyer.
No, I'm gonna keep my job.
So does the charge document need to be updated by the select board? to
I'm
provide some
confused on
clarity?
which plan is which, so we should probably put that on our agenda to get that straightened out first.
But we could also just rename them.
Yes,
and we have to do it in 2 years.
but
so it
what's
makes
the,
sense
but what's
to
the
do
difference
it
between the two?
sooner and
So
talk
one
about
of
how
them
we're doing.
is.
I think one of them is broadly this property.
Yeah,
And then one is like the trees.
trees, yes,
Like the
okay.
forest resources. And I frankly think that it's like,
And it has pictures of the different, it has maps with the different stands in
Yeah.
that document.
like we could call one silviculture because it's not. I guess I have to think.
But if we are responsible for the overarching big one, part of that, at least now, is to have a forest management plan, which we do,
Yeah,
right? And that's within our purview, is to make sure the forest management plan is followed or changed as part of, as a
The trust for
subset.
public land and the Vermont Division of Wildlife rules on the land.
I mean, there's nobody else who owns the overarching document, so I guess it's us.
well, I think the overarching document was a requirement of the Forest Service grant.
Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, are we beholden to them to redo that document? Also?
Does it need to be redone?
When we update the management plan
Think that's
document that Danielle's holding.
Most management plans are on 10-year.
Well, we already told them that we're pushing it off a year, like we wrote
Yeah.
that memo.
They're gonna be on
Incentives.
separate 10-year schedules, is my understanding.
Make-
I think we should potentially discuss having just one for the entire property and all its resources.
Well, the only reason I would argue is that I don't know, I mean, sometimes you have a sub document because it doesn't meet all the requirements that the overarching one does. Right, like if we want to change that, we want to allow ice skating, even though that was clearly not in the one, do we have to go back to the Forest Service and renegotiate?
But that
Oh,
would
yeah.
that would be in the Forest Service required one,
Uh-huh,
right? Like the big one
Right.
is the one that's Forest Service.
right. But if we want something that was, oh, I guess that's fair.
I think two guys.
Okay, yeah, so. Dave's got us on decision boundaries, but just to complete the discussion about committee role. The committee's primary role is advisory with an oversight function. Related to consistency with adopted plans and policies. Specifically, we advise on forest management plans and updates. Reviews major changes in land use, access, or programming. Provides input on capital projects and long-term investments. Serves as a forum for public input related to Catamount.
Catamount Forest, community forest.
Yes.
That's another confusing thing that we're constantly like CSOFC,
Yes.
CSOFC.
See how that's.
Make recommendations to town staff and the select board and supports and encourages education, research, and volunteer stewardship. So that's your contribution there. So our primary role is advisory. It doesn't, we don't implement projects. As far as I know, open-ended. for discussion. Or manage
It's back to
day-to-day
what-
activities.
it's Back to what is implementing. Like,
Right.
If we hire the person to put together the plan for the invasive species and we pay that person, then we're kind of implementing, but we're not out there chopping stuff down, so.
Right.
That's.
On this partner management thing, is there something on that first bullet advises on parsons? Well, and again, we're confusing documents here, but like all the documents, so like the lease agreement with Outdoor Family Center, the farmer mowing agreement, the brush hogging agreements. So we're advising on those too. Like those
We have that.
constituents would come to us and like the farmer says, I wanna mow different times or something. We kind of vet that and then pass it out to the select board. So we're advising them.
I don't even know, like that level of
And
decision.
pass that to town staff, I thought.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think as long as we say it needs to be brush hog, these areas need to be brush
Oh,
hog,
is
and
it?
that's in our plan, that I don't think it ever needs to come to us,
Oh.
and we fund it with the budget, then. That would be my take. I don't think we need to have so many people sit around the table and decide if we're gonna brush hog or not.
That's what we have been doing though.
Right, exactly, which is why we're having this conversation.
I think that gets to the question of the, as Drew wrote, we don't manage day-to-day activities. So what you do is you say, we want these areas brush hogged for this reason. We want these things to be considered, and then town staff go do it. And I think the same thing with the agricultural lease is you say, like, we want these fields hayed and mowed for these reasons. And we want the relationship to take these things into consideration. And we want to evaluate that on a periodic basis or something. And that's the way that you're involved. And you don't necessarily have to be, this year there was a question of policy change of changing the mowing on that. So I guess this is a question for you is, did you feel like that level of participation was appropriate for the committee, where we brought in the bobolink representative and you met with the actual farmer who hazed the fields and had a conversation about the schedule of farming and how that might change? Did you feel like that was an appropriate conversation for this committee, or did you feel like that was a good thing to happen, but it could have happened elsewhere on other time facilitated by town staff?
That feels like substantive management decision to me, like,
Cause we changed the timing of it.
yeah. And because it was like about a resource, like it was about like a wildlife resource. So like in my head, that's like it had like a substantive implication.
So as the conservation representative, you feel like as the recreation, I
Yeah.
don't
That's
feel
like
like
what
I
I
need to
didn't
be
hear either.
joined to that conversation.
I mean, I would be okay, and this is maybe gonna put more work on staff, but I could see staff coming back and saying, this is the situation. This is my recommendation.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds good. You don't need to meet with the mower.
The argument I would make,
Mhm.
and I could be swayed either way, but the argument I would make is. If we have these defined goals that were to be. Advising on their implementation to achieve the goals of the management plan that Dr. Danny has. And there's trade-offs made between these goals for different user groups. I think we should evolve. Like, hey, they wanna mow, but it's gonna ruin this other thing for these other people, or so I felt like we were. Making trade-off decisions for the different constituent groups, and maybe even trading off on like. Okay, we're gonna put the goal of the birds above the goal of the whatevers, like, we were reprioritizing where. What goals should be higher than the other, I don't know, it affects different users. I mean, that's my argument that I would make for us to be involved in it, it feels like a small topic.
And the tricky thing is that there's gradations of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a huge decision that we really should spend time on, or it's. They wanna mow later, the mower says, I'm not happy about it, but okay, and then we say, okay. right now.
Yeah,
Well, like if there wasn't, like if it wasn't bobbling nesting, I would feel totally different about making that same decision. Like I would be like, I don't care, right? Like
Yeah.
if, right, if there wasn't like this vulnerable grassland bird. So yeah, I think it's very context dependent on whether or not it feels like a substantive management call.
I guess I feel like we made the plan. So we, like, in the group, we came up with a plan, and then like now we've told town staff to do it. Just like with the invasive management plan, we talked about it for a long time,
Yeah.
and now we have one, and now we want it done, and I guess
and if he comes back and says, I wanna change my mowing again, and it would have negative implications on the bobolinks, now we have a town staff person.
right,
Who's going to be making a decision unilaterally to,
Or
to the
do,
benefit of the farmer, to the detriment of the bobolink guy.
or like everything comes to select board, they write up a memo with the pros and cons and bring a recommendation and the board decides. That would happen, and then you could do it in 15 minutes as opposed to 4 meetings or whatever.
Oh, like use that approach for
Yeah.
the decision to come here for us to be, boop, 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 not like. Discussing it endlessly.
Right.
There's an efficient way for us to have those kinds of decision
Right.
trade-offs.
And it could be that we say like, wow, we really need, I don't know that much about bobolinks. Appreciate your recommendation, Dave. I would like to have somebody come in and talk to us about bobolinks. You
yeah.
can do that.
Yeah, make us operate that way. Come on, you know how the select board works. Make us more efficient here.
I think that works
Mhm.
personally.
So one other thing
what
that
you
you,
recommended to do for Eric to come in and tell us about the insurance. So we should
Yeah.
stop talking about it, we should call somebody in to tell us about what's happening. Like it,
Right.
can't let it go.
so one other thing that I'll
One
throw
more
out
meeting.
there
One more meeting.
as a possible thing to consider is currently, as this committee is structured, you have representatives that are designated to be on this committee to represent different interests. You have a person who's on this committee from the Conservation Commission. You have a person who's on this committee from the Recreation Commission. You have a person who's from the Select Board. So one thing you could consider doing is having those people be the point people for different considerations. So, for example, if something is happening with the bobolinks and the mowing, right, that question is going to be first fielded by town staff and the representative of the committee from the Conservation Commission, and they're going to make the determination of whether that gets bumped up to the commission. Similarly, questions about like the drone use, for example. Jean was mentioning, I think, at one point that maybe that conversation, didn't need to go to the committee yet. That recreation person and the town staff could field that together, talk it over, and make the determination of whether that gets bumped up to the committee and in what context.
I think this kind of harkens to a question that has been in my mind. Hang on, there's
Multitasking mom.
which is like, sometimes there will be like a conservation thing in this committee, and I'm like, is this kind of WCC's purview also?
Right.
Like, it's weird that there are like it's almost weird that like like your committee has like purview over recreation except in this space, or like Conservation Commission has purview over making recommendations over conservation issues except in this one geographic space.
Why it's so special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's conflicting user groups and multiple goals that are being balanced and managed.
And lots of hats and.
Yeah, like it's a complicated property with a lot of interested users.
Did you know that the US Forest Service is litigated more than any other federal agency in the United States?
Wow.
They get sued.
More than nice.
Okay, folks.
Federal agency.
So just keeping an eye on the time here. Thank you for excellent conversation. Drew, thank you for keeping us on track today. I know, John, thanks for the substantial updates. There's a lot to go over.
Yes.
Sorry, John, I really thought we were gonna brainstorm.
This, it's really healthy conversation. So this will continue to be the major focus, I think, in working session. I think that I can help with some facilitation, summarizing some of the thoughts that I heard today, and work with Drew to to continue to kind of try to set us up for an efficient conversation next time. I'd say please, if you haven't read the documents that have been posted, read those because that will be helpful, especially Drew's memos. Obviously, those were just posted today, so there's no expectation that you read those, but I think they're very helpful, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, the last part that we haven't gone through is the decision boundaries, and I'm not going to get into that now because we don't really have time, but it's basically just a summary of who decides what, right? And that's something that we need to focus on at another time, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, sometimes it helps me to start with something really concrete and then expand up instead of expanding and coming
Yeah.
down to something concrete. So I think
Yeah.
that's very helpful to have both.
Yeah. And we do have that live document that we can perhaps update and send around
And
and
you
work
wrote-
on next time.
You wrote this, like, it says forest management, just our prior confusion. Did you mean like logging plan changes? Or did you mean?
The forest management.
That's
plan.
something we're gonna have to figure out before next week.
Yeah.
I do think we should.
Yeah, I mean, like-
name them.
Yeah,
We need,
Yeah.
I think we call them what they're called on the top of their documents.
It's just so long to say that, and everyone.
We can just use the acronyms or something, but we should use what they are currently called.
So for example, a few meetings ago, we discussed pushing out harvesting.
So your first bullet
Exactly.
legitimately was the logging,
Yeah,
versus that document.
yes.
Thank you for bringing that.
Getting it here, I need to get the other document too, have in the back, so I really put my plans separated.
Okay, so David and I will work together on sort of synthesizing a lot of this and we'll pass that around in the weeks to come and
With a potential invite to Eric to help us unpack the insurance.
as soon as he's ready. I don't know that he's ready, but it's also.
Yeah,
but
I'll
it's
just say,
also-
I know that conversation is still in flux. And I would recommend waiting until there's, I don't think that would be as constructive as desired at this time.
But we only meet once a month, so.
Yeah, I mean, if not February, when does the race series go on sale? March? Like,
And we've already sold sponsorships, so we'll continue to try to, so
yeah.
these are, ongoing things that we need to resolve before we go too far down the road.
We would put it on the schedule for February. If Eric's not ready, and tell him
Well,
to get
if
ready.
Eric's not ready, we could still potentially come up with a memo that we're urging the town to
Yeah.
blah,
Totally.
blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Okay, good.
Sure.
also.
Yeah, obviously, you're welcome to
second the
reach out
motion.
to Eric whenever you want. I was simply responding
Valuable
in terms
community
of,
resource, and we urge you to come to a solution.
We could do that. We could even do that right now.
The end. I mean, we should probably talk about it more than me just saying
Right.
that, but yes, we could.
But motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
Sorry, I got a line, second motion, but.
And you welcomed us all here tonight too. How are you?
You think he owns a place?
Hey, Hans. So just,
Did I write something wrong?
no, you did.
No, you gotta stay for next.
When I sent Drew a note, it
Are you
said
hungry?
discussion